Hey guys, Enzo from Home Theatre Engineering. Obviously, we have the lovely Andrew Poole on that side. Oh, this always gets me. Yeah, and Aaron as well from Think Cinema in Canada. We're here to do CEDIA talk. And obviously, you saw the previous video. We introduced Aaron. Aaron, welcome on board again. Sorry I couldn't be there to meet you in Denver, but you got to meet this bloke. That bloke.
Yeah, it was wonderful, but we did miss you, Enzo.
Yeah, look. I'm not a big fan of flying anyway, so I miss it and I don't miss it at the same time. But no, look, it was great. Feedback's been great. You guys pumped out some awesome videos as well, and it's great to see you kind of join the team in a way where you get to know us and we get to know you a bit better, and we see that our philosophies on everything we do is pretty much in line. We've been doing this for so long now, purely based on the idea that we just want the best results and the best, outcome for the customers. And obviously, our business, a lot of it is referral based. So, and you're very similar to us. And like we mentioned in your introductory video, you've been watching us from the beginning, really. So it was important to find someone for us that we could rely on and also trust in the US that could help us. Which is why, obviously, we've teamed up with yourself. So welcome again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I mean, it's an honor. It's a pleasure. It was just fantastic to have that first week as our first real go. The compatibility was there. It was everything I'd hoped for, and very excited going forward here.
Is Andrew just as pretty in real life that he is on camera, or?
Prettier, much prettier.
They reckon the camera adds 5 pounds, so
I'll pay you for that later. Thank you. Look, I think what amazed me, without sort of all puffing each other up, is that Aaron's really, really dedicated to what he does. I know because at 10 o'clock I'm saying, we need to get some sleep, and by 2 o'clock we were finally giving up. 2 o'clock in the morning. So he's like, "Oh, we'll just edit a bit more," and I'm like, "Oh." So yeah, the one thing I have learned about Aaron is that his work ethic is kind of unbeatable. So it's great.
Well, you have such a high bar, right? I've been watching these videos, and I'm coming on board. I have to do my part. So.
No, look, it's great to have you on board, and it's taken a long time to find someone who shares those ideals. Okay, so I guess for those of you out there who are wondering, how this all works, if you are in Canada or the USA, please get in touch with Home Theatre Engineering, our website, www.hometheatreengineering.com, or sales@hometheatreengineering.com. However, there is a trick. It's the Australian or English spelling of theatre, Theatre, not ER. So, for those of you who get a spell correction coming up, it's theatre.com.
It would have been easier if we just did HTE.com.
Yeah, I know. I think we tried that. There was,
So it's our same spelling in Canada, so we're all aligned here.
Excellent. So for those of you in America, check your spelling. But yeah, look, that's the way to get in touch with us. If you let us know what you want to do, we'll put you in touch with Aaron, and your project will be managed by Aaron. And you get all of the room design, all of the guidance, all of the products, and all of the good stuff that we've been able to put together over the last sort of 20 years. So that's how to do that. That will be in the description on the video, on the description below, and I'll see if I can put this in text across here as well. So that's it. So CEDIA
talk.
Yeah.
So I guess for me, I wasn't there. Saw the videos and everything. I thought we'd do a bit of a Q&A just to kind of, especially for the viewers, because there are a lot of people that have never been able to get to CEDIA, nor did they know that they could even go. A lot of people always thought it was just industry, not realizing that there was one day, which was Saturday, I think you guys said.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how that worked for the public, but the public were definitely able to go in and have a look. Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, what is the CEDIA Expo? I mean, there was a whole heap of new products on display. Not much new, I think you guys said. Like new products being launched, just maybe a bit of new tech.
What I saw a lot of was the big screen LEDs in some, however the technology was, whether it was Barco's LED wall, which a lot of people saw, or it was planar, expanding their arsenal. There was a lot of big screen LED stuff on display.
Yeah, that seemed to be kind of the large displays was the kind of order of the day. But, make no mistake, those large displays, I don't think there was much under 150, 200,000 US dollars for a display. So it's not something that the average person's going to be putting in. And of course, the other issue with large screen displays is that you can't have a center speaker. And even Barco, their interesting comment, and I'll get your feedback on this in a second, but their comment was that, if you're going to do a cinema, use a projector. But in a lifestyle space or for internal, digital art or for, a living area, a lounge room, that sort of thing, or even perhaps under a patio or whatever. I'm not sure about the, the weather, capabilities of these panels. But, Barco, for example, were still big fans of projectors. However, I've got to say that when you and I sat down and we looked at especially that Barco LED wall, probably one of the finest images I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, it blew me away just at how good it was, how cinematic it was, how much they were able to dial it in, and then we were seeing it amidst window light shining on it, but you have a range of brightness that you can control to get even more nuance and cinematic feeling from. So yeah, very exciting product. I mean, you absolutely need the budget for it, but it was, I think, the best image on display, hands down.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sure you're going to get people that are going to want to use it in a cinema, but it would be very bright though, obviously.
Yeah, and again, you've got issues with sound. Your side speakers are pushed out to the side. Your center speakers have to be top, bottom, or both. And you can do it, but you're going to do it, I think, with with the quality of projectors you've got out there now. If you put in something like a Freya or Njord or what was the new one? The Nerfus.
Right.
Any of those projectors are going to produce an amazing image in home, and we know that from what we've got here. In terms of new products, I mean, someone commented on our YouTube video about the fact that Macintosh had a new expensive subwoofer come out, but there wasn't a lot of general song and dance or announcements that I was aware of anyway, of sort of products that really stood out. There was kind of what I would say is more of the same, at the Anthem stand, at the Harman stand, you went around and all of the stuff that we saw were stuff that we were generally familiar with. Yeah. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, nothing, fantastical in terms of innovative product. I mean, it would seem to be new technologies. We talked about waveforming there, that fantastic booth partnered with Trinov and MadVR. So, and then again on the MadVR subject, just seeing that product evolve. So I think there was a lot of evolution in the home cinema and audio and video and integration, but nothing new in terms of specific products that hasn't already had a launch.
I got a vibe from watching, obviously, a lot of CEDIA content that it was very heavy on the MadVR, Trinov, waveguide. There was a lot of exposure for them, and it seemed to be that they were kind of the central point of the CEDIA Expo. I think they were the talking point, that was the MadVR and Trinov. And Ascendo obviously doing great things as well.
MadVR was in, I think, 12 booths.
12 stands or something. Yeah. It was a collaborative stand, so there was MadVR, there was Trinov, there was Barco, there was Ascendo, there was I'm sorry guys, I've forgotten the name of the interior furniture guys. And I think there's some others, all in sort of demonstrating on the one stand. It was not by any means the biggest stand. I mean, the biggest stand was possibly Sony, I think.
Which is probably a bit underwhelming.
Oh yeah, in terms of the scale of the booth. Samsung, Sony, they had humongous. And Snap One, Control 4, they had big booths.
Yeah. But I think there was nothing there, and we've got excuse me, Aaron and I kind of went round to a lot of different stands. We went to the Sony booth, we went to the JVC booth, and I'll save you the discomfort, but when we went to the Sony booth, we kind of went in with this excitement, and we sat down. And I'm kind of sad to say, and we're Sony fans, so to all my Sony fans, all our Sony associates in Australia, love you guys. But at CEDIA, it really just didn't fly the flag. There obviously hadn't been a lot of effort in setting up the image or the sound, and the presenter was really not kind of
interested.
He just really wasn't engaged. And to compare that with JVC, I mean, as you said, you came out of the JVC stand, you said it was probably one of the best stands there.
Oh yeah, it was definitely number 2 in terms of picture quality. If we're talking image, surround experience and sound aside, it was phenomenal. That laser, the Z9, which is I think the RS4100, 8K. Nomad VR in that booth. So that was one of the few booths that didn't feature their tone mapping and AI. JVC was very much, look what's in our machine. And it was just beautiful. I think one of the best images I've seen ever. So I'll just put that down.
And I think that's sad, because I think Sony has that capability, but they just didn't put the effort in. It was almost like, well, we're Sony, we don't need to try that hard. Which is sad,
Yeah, something I wouldn't give that projector slack. We all know the Sony projectors are phenomenal, and they go toe to toe with JVC. But it was, I think, something down to set up in that booth. And
it's like the effort, and even the presenter, the JVC presenter, was just energized and well practiced and professional and well timed, and it was chalk and cheese.
Well, in a way, you're only as good as the presenter that you've got as well. So if that person isn't interested or motivated or energetic, it's just going to kill the whole experience anyway. But so do you guys feel that like the general feel of the industry from obviously after COVID, and now everyone's kind of starting to get together again and do these type of shows? Do you feel that the excitement's definitely back there? I mean, all these different brands, and I mean, obviously everyone thinks that their product is better than everyone else's. We know that. But do you feel that it's kind of really like taken off again, the crowds and the vibe and the passion of home cinema? Like, is everyone back on board type of thing?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what energized me. I mean, it was actually connecting with the manufacturers, the engineers, the creatives behind some of these innovations and products.
Not just the sales
guys. CEOs, we met Richard. There was certainly a buzz and excitement from the crowd, but it was inspiring to hear everybody's story and what's driven, the brands and the products and the technology, and it was really what I think we're all about here. And so that was definitely exciting. I don't know, Andrew.
I think it's probably refreshing to be able to go to a show and you're not dealing with just salespeople that have been hired to represent a product, because you're actually dealing with the people that created it, and normally the owners there, or the people in charge are there, and you're dealing. You can ask them direct questions. I think that's the part of CEDIA I think is great, because obviously when we've done AV shows here, the brands are represented by the local distributor. No one really, very rarely will come, like the owner of I don't know, or one of the bosses from JVC won't come across. So we're always dealing with the distributors, as opposed to in a big event like CEDIA, where you deal direct with like the engineers and maybe the person that created the product, like Richard from Made VR, for instance.
I think what Aaron experienced over there, I sort of called it a trial by fire, but the people that we connected with was phenomenal. I think the other thing was that there was a strong presence of technical people there. So we were talking to the engineers at Barco, the engineers at Mad VR, the engineers at Priscilla, and the products that we are greatly interested in. And we tried to have those conversations on other stands as well. but I think we were able to plug in at a much higher level. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it was reciprocated, like their appreciation of HTE. I mean, just coming on board, that was inspiring, right? The positivity back from them, sort of saying, what you guys are doing is great. You're elevating the industry. You're recognizing that this is work of craftsmen, not electronic, components being sold in high volume retail shops, right? So it was very inspiring. It was very nice to connect to that.
Yeah, I think my only observation is, and this is something that frustrates me a lot, and even in talking with our customers, not every customer out there is $1 million customer. A lot of people have got 50, 70, 75 grand. Some people not even that. And one of the things that I guess kind of saddens me is that most of the components that we look at now are expensive. Mad VR is a great product, much as a high-end car is a great product, but you pay the price. Barco is a great product, but you pay the price. And one of the things that we have always striven to do is to deliver to customers great image and sound. And one of the things, the disconnect between, this is achievable, but gee, it's going to cost you some money. So trying to find those kind of results for clients. One of the things I try to keep an eye on is how do we get customers who don't have these big budgets into these great experiences? So we're always looking out for products that, can do that. Now, JVC, I think, is a great product. We do have an issue with JVC in Australia, worst customer service of any product that exists, so much so that we won't sell JVC here in Australia. So JVC, Kenwood, Australia, you need to lift your game because, you've got a great product, but really, really bad support. Sony is the opposite. Sony we get great customer service from. So it tends to be that the entry-level choices for customers are probably Sony. Trinov, again, great product, but you're going to pay a premium for it. So it's, we all started off as DIYers, right? Yes, I had some technical background and training, but we've all come from a passion for cinema, and not all of us could afford to build these rooms on day one. And the one thing I felt in CEDIA was that within reason, not totally, but wherever you went, everything was, carried quite a price tag on it. And, I certainly welcome the flow of this technology and knowledge down to people who can afford it. And that's what I'd like to see more of. And I think with things like lasers becoming, endemic in the projection industry, we're going to see better projectors at that end of the market. So I think if people are patient, I think with JVC putting tone mapping and stuff into their projectors, that gives them a stopgap between that, for example, and a Mad VR. I don't know. How do you feel about that, Aaron?
I mean, I did feel so my background coming up through, producing home theaters for clients is getting very creative with their budgets, right? Because like you said, we don't always have $1 million clients. And when we do, they're special and we can bring in Trinov and all that great stuff. You also may not have a customer that really fully understands or appreciates what a Trinov or a Mad VR is. They haven't been handed their first model airplane yet. And so to give them the very, very best model, they're like, well, okay, I don't know, it's very expensive. Why do I need that? And so I've been very creative to find and extract the most performance in my cinema designs for clients with whatever budget. And I think what was clear at CEDIA was that there are, wherever your brackets are, there is an opportunity to do that, to be able to deliver that. And I think, it's just a matter of compromise and weighing, what's going to be suitable for the job, the environment, and then always going back to budget. But like looking at the JVC, it's obviously a step down from a Barco, but it hits the performance bracket for that customer. So it was very exciting in that regard. What I'd like to see more of is actually better entry-level product. We see this, exactly. Yep. Or we've seen this from Epson and BenQ. They've had some great pieces. For your customer who's even a $25,000 cinema or a $50,000 cinema, there needs to be solutions there. And I know that these manufacturers are striving. They're seeing products like Maviar, like Trinov, and I think they're climbing, and that's great. It's elevating the industry, but at the same time, I've always felt that at the end of the day, we're exhibiting art for our customers, and everyone should have the opportunity to have that, to be engaged with not just the super rich, right? So it was nice to see that there are camps of product that are out there and showcasing that. But I'd like to see, I guess, more of that throughout, not just at the high level.
I think I find this topic interesting because I see sometimes in the comments, I think one of the videos Andrew posted, someone's commented, yeah, Madviar's great, but it's, if only it was $2,000. But my opinion on this is a little bit harsher maybe, where I think the industry is changing. I mean, for instance, like an Anthem AVM 70 or 90, considering it's half the price of a Trinov, if not more, cheaper, it is a very good product. A little bit buggy, but it is a good product. The RCam network. The RCam is a great product, and I think for the entry level, and that's still a $9,000 to $12,000 processor. But you're looking at Denon, who now are doing 16-channel receivers to try and compete with the customers that want the processing power of 16 channels, right? So let me finish. But and I think, yes, that's fine. And I get that, everyone deserves something good. I mean, Andrew's had guys that have bought like a Hisense TV that have spent more money on calibrating than what the TV is worth, because that's all they could afford. Right. And they couldn't afford a $10,000 Sony TV. So they bought a $4,000 Hisense and spent, $2,000 getting the audio and picture calibrated. Now, I think everyone deserves to have as much blood from the stone as possible. But like anything, I love and wish I could own a Lamborghini, but I'm never going. I mean, I've got it on my shirt, right? But the fact is, it's unreachable. That's just life. I think even a Lamborghini kit car is still going to cost me $100,000. But it's not the same thing, and I think there's a lot of people that tend to go, oh yeah, but they, it's too expensive, and they kind of take it a bit personally. There's a lot of negativity where I see in comments of people go, oh, there's no reason why that product needs to be $25,000, and it's like, well, I think there is, and if you can't afford it, that's fine. But there are very good solutions out there. I went into a room that Andrew did with an RCam that if you hadn't told me, I would have thought that, obviously that's all down to his calibrating skills and the design and the acoustics, and the room just was magic. I would have thought there was a Trinov in that room.
I think this is an interesting point. There wasn't one stand there, including us, there wasn't one stand there actually selling the one component that makes a great room, which is design. Well, maybe there was and we missed it, but... and I think this is a really important topic. And I'm glad.
CEDIA designer? CEDIA weren't promoting CEDIA designer?
Yeah, I don't know. So, and this should be a note of encouragement, for anyone building a cinema. If you're going to build a cinema, then there's two things that you need to add to your component list and your budget, and that is proper design and proper calibration. And without those, I know we're beating a drum here, but this is what we're all about. I can guarantee you that it doesn't matter what you spend on anything else. We've been in rooms that are $500,000, $1 million, and they look like and sound like rubbish. If you don't plan and design and you don't calibrate, you will not get the results. And I guess probably the Sony stand is a good example of that. The product runs, people would argue both ways, but it probably runs neck and neck with JVC. You might be some advantages in one and disadvantages in the other, and vice versa, and some will have different features. but really, they should have stood sort of roughly shoulder to shoulder. And that just speaks volumes about the design, the planning, and the calibration. And I think this has been our philosophy from the beginning. Yes, buying the right equipment and matching it up to the plan for the room is important at any budget. But if you want the best results, there are ways to do it, as you said, Aaron, by using some creativity, by buying wisely, but investing in the things that make it work. A bit like with your hypercar, if you've got your McLaren and you don't bother to get tyres for it and you don't get it tuned, and it's just a piece of metal.
Well, I always say the same thing to customers. You can't build a house without engineering drawings. It needs to be approved, right? It needs to be engineered. The slab needs to be engineered. And ironically, and Andrew says this all the time, the cinema is the most complex room in the house. So, why is it that people can just put brown boxes in the room and not do the planning and not do the final, calibration? I find it weird though that not even like the ISF, Joel Silver didn't have a stand. No one was promoting.
I didn't look. I mean, we didn't get to see every stand, and there was a downstairs level that we didn't get time to get to. So I've got to be careful what I say there, but
I think it was certainly a component overlooked. Is how essential that is. But that comes down to the integrator. I mean, there were fantastic integrators there that, we met and got the chance to talk to globally that are, quite renowned. But I didn't see them in booths. It was just more in passing and shaking hands.
Yeah.
But just to add on to what Andrew said, even when you are dealing with a smaller theater or a more budget constricted theater, getting that blood from the stone it really comes down to your system design. So even in a small project, that really ought to be an essential component. And just like what Enzo said, like the analogy I always throw out to customers is you're not going to start building your dream kitchen without any roadmap or any plans, right? You don't just go out and start buying cabinets and throwing it in your kitchen and a random faucet and a sink just off of brand alone. Okay, these are all great things, and then you sit there and you're like, well, how do I put this together? And you need someone to do that. So whether it's a Trinov system or a Denon 2-channel, like you need that integrator with the experience and the knowledge.
I think it's funny though, like you just said, Aaron. Like we rely a lot on the integrator or the team that whether it's us or someone else to do the design and the calibration. But that's a very big aspect of the industry that a lot of people don't do calibration or even offer it or even talk about it because
or probably worse. As they say, calibration on the invoice.
Yeah,
and it's not calibrate. They do auto room EQ.
Yeah,
and they walk away.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, that is not calibration.
Yeah.
Sorry,
but I think like the point is that the two most important aspects of what makes the best home cinema are really left reliant on a store or a business to do it. Now, we know calibration the first thing a lot of people tell me, well, we don't do it because it's expensive to get all the equipment. You got to do all the courses. That all costs money. That all costs time. And they don't offer it and they don't even talk about it. Design, again, that takes time to learn. You need to spend money on courses and those stores don't do it. And yet they're the two most valuable parts of the business, in my opinion. The fact that we rely the discussion on those topics, they don't even come up at expos. I find a bit weird. I mean, they may be there. Maybe like Andrew said, you guys didn't see, but I find that there's not enough at these expos on. I mean, CEDIA push hard their CEDIA designer thing. So, to kind of have more of that, I guess.
Yeah, this raises an interesting topic. So at this CEDIA, they released RP22. For those of you who don't know what RP22 is.
Do you like my segue?
Yeah. It was very good. RP22 is the new standard, or it's not a standard, it's a recommended practice by CEDIA that talks about what you need to include in a room design. And there are, I believe, 4 levels in it. It's a large document. It's well over 100 pages. The issue that I have is that RP22 uses various metrics, measurements and things. And one of the things that's lacking in this industry are companies who, A, know what those measurements are. Like if I talk about a noise criteria curve, a lot of people go, okay, is that SPL? No, it's not essentially. It's actually a special curve for measuring quietness in a room. You need the equipment to do that. So you need to have invested in the equipment. I would suggest you do something like an HTE course. You need to know how to use that equipment. You need to know how to apply those standards. And so RP22 is something that a lot of people will come out with. And there are a lot of different ways to do room designs too. There are some distributors and manufacturers who will do a free room design for you. There are automated systems that will create room designs for you. And that's all well and good, but a lot of those don't make allowances for all of the problems that you confront in a room. We've seen this. We've tried it. We've tried those systems ourselves.
Well, every room is different.
And they don't deliver, in our opinion. And working around the problems, the unique problems and challenges that a customer has, the unique equipment the customer has, the shortcomings or advantages they have. And then the main thing is that's all well and good. Okay, so you've got that done. Now you've got all this equipment in a room and it's all operating, it's all sitting there idling in neutral. And if you want to get the best out of it, even with RP22, which at the moment is just an audio standard, the video standard will come later, and it would be great to get involved with that. Then hopefully this will raise the bar. But that bar will only be raised if after the design is done, that those measurements are implemented. And that's going to come down to people who know how to measure and how to make the adjustments and the corrections to deliver that standard. And so that's going to become critical. So if you're designing a room, one of the things that we will start talking about and start applying to our designs is RP22, and that's another way that you're going to know that you're getting a good result. But that's the first stage. It's a bit like an architect going, okay, here's all the drawings and plans and the engineering drawings for the house, but then the welders, the structural guys, the concreters and all those sort of things use substandard products and the whole thing collapses. If you're not following the rules and you don't have the equipment to measure and test, you don't have a result.
Can I be devil's advocate for a second?
Yeah.
Does that not just mean that anyone can just claim that they can design home cinema?
Yeah, well, anyone.
That's the frustrating part. Yeah.
Because I can just go, because it's not, you don't have to do a course and get certified, right?
No.
So not as it stands. I think, we spoke to a lot of CEDIA board members who are involved in structuring RP22. And because I think me and Andrew were a bit reserved going in, we read through, we took a look, and exactly that was kind of our first thought. Well, and mine was too, we're going to start seeing versions of RP22 based on the integrator who's handing it out and however, they implement their system design or whatever. But I think it's that they're trying to create a standard. We're trying to create more standards to hold the industry accountable to doing better work, to be craftsmen.
Yeah, but how does that? That's not possible though. If no one's if no one's checking and actually.
So this is
that's the point.
Yeah, this is an interesting topic. So Ben Goff, if you're watching, hi. It was an absolute pleasure to meet you. I have not met a more passionate man in this industry. I really appreciated. We bumped into each other, and I think 3 hours later we finished talking. Ben straightened me out on a lot of stuff, and. What we'll do is I'm going to extend an invitation to Ben to come on the HTE channel and talk about RP22. I think it'll be a really valuable discussion. But yes, anyone can go and get a copy of RP22. But you have to read and understand the whole thing. You then have to know how to implement it. You have to understand what it means. You have to understand how you can reach that criteria. You have to understand all of the products that are going in. And this comes down to measurement of products as well, which is another topic. But if you are going to see an integrator and they say, oh, we built RP22, then you need to find out, what their knowledge base is, because just having a copy of the standard doesn't mean you're going to follow it, doesn't mean you understand it, doesn't mean you can measure it, doesn't mean you can implement it. It just means you've got a copy of it. Like a lot of people have got a copy of Floyd Toole's Sound Reproduction, but how many people have read it and understand it?
I've got a copy of the Bible, but I don't follow it. Do you see where I'm going with this though? not to be the devil's advocate here, but it is just, I love the fact that they're pushing for this, and I love the fact that they're just trying to make it better for everybody, because I think, like Aaron said, even the hardest working Joe Bloggs who can only spend 10 grand on a cinema deserves to get his 10 grand and more out of those products, right? But if they've been put in the wrong spot and they haven't been calibrated, he's missing out on, like Andrew always says, performance on the floor.
Yeah.
So
look, I think, even at 10 or 15 grand, if you invested 2 of that into calibration, you're going to have a system that's going to outperform most things that you'll ever see or hear. And
I just want to stress too, in the beginning stages of this RP22 rolling out, because we're going to see what the industry does with this. I have a feeling that the average integrator is not even going to be aware of it for some time.
True.
But sorry, I lost my thought here. I guess just coming. Well, okay, that's where I was going. Whether you have RP22 in hand and hand this over to the customer or not, the customer really should be vetting their integrator. They should not just take everything on word, or, oh yeah, these products are great, or like just the same way that you would vet, your contractor who's building the house, or someone who's tuning your Maserati. You want to make sure that they're doing their job properly, that there's some evidence of that, and just handing over RP22 is not enough.
I think there's a really good measure of this. If you go into a shop or an integrator and they don't specifically ask you the right questions, if they don't ask you what size is your room, how is it constructed, how many seats have you got, where are you going to sit, what is your budget, because you can't work to parameters without a budget, and then what are your expectations? If they don't ask you a bunch of questions, and then if they don't produce a bunch of results based on those questions, you're dealing with the wrong people. If they just turn around and go, yeah, okay, you want these speakers, this amp, this projector, there you go, you're done, then, those alarm bells should be ringing loud and clear. And then if you ask them about how they calibrate, if they go, yeah, we do, Arc Genesis, or we do, I don't know, whatever process, Dirac or whatever, then again, steer clear, because that is just, the home user can do that. You don't need to pay someone to use Dirac or Arc Genesis.
Yeah.
So, but gain matching your subs, phase aligning them, getting, delay times right, getting everything right to make the room perform is something you need better equipment for. And I won't bore people with this, but just remember, when you run an auto EQ, it gives you a mathematical outcome. It doesn't tell you what's actually happened in the room. So there's a lot that goes on. So as you guys both said, vet the person, find out what their qualifications are, find out what their experience is, and make sure. And if they're not willing to, honestly, if they're not willing to charge you for a room design, and they're not willing to charge you for calibration, it means they put no value in it. It also means not spending any time on it. It means they're not solving any problems with it, because how many hours does a room design take us? Days and days.
And then
the biggest one that I see too is when we're competing on a job. If I have a customer, often they're shopping around, they're first doing this, they're trying to get a sense of who I should hire, and because they don't, if there's someone who doesn't have an appreciation for home cinema or have never started, again, you're handing over that first model airplane, they don't know who they should hire. We often see people just running in and quoting something without seeing the space. Like for every theater room, whether it's a retro, new construction, I'm meeting with the client. A lot of the feedback too is, oh, we're getting 3 other quotes. How come you need to come out and see the room? Like, how come you're spending so much time here? That should be a red flag. If they're not coming out to your room, if they're not coming to meet you and put in some time or charge an initial consultation, these should be red flags.
Yeah, for sure.
So back to the CEDIA question.
Yeah.
One of the topics I find interesting that I keep seeing a lot is...
Sorry, I keep looking at you. And
yeah, I know, it's a bad thing.
So every time I look away...
I'm looking at the wall at the moment. It's like Brady brunch.
It's
So one of the things that came up a lot is big subwoofers. there's a lot of talk about big subwoofers,
Oh, boy.
right? And obviously Ascendo, as
yeah.
much as I love the guys and he's passionate, and they're great because they're really passionate on getting the right data and the right information. They're making big subwoofers, and we harp on about directors' intent a lot. Well, you hear us say that a lot, and a lot of people, especially DIYs, have a tendency to turn up subs to what I call car stereo bass. And then, you watch, I don't know, Interstellar, for instance, and you're watching it on car stereo bass, and it feels like you've done 10 rounds with Mike Tyson in the boxing ring. But that's not how the director intended you to watch and feel the bass of that film, right? But I'm seeing a lot of stuff from CEDIA where people are going, oh, these massive subs. What was your take on it?
Well, Aaron, you go first.
Well, I guess I would say I was surprised. Okay, so we were in the Ascendo booth, and there was certainly a lot of subwoofers. They demoed different configurations of subs in the waveforming, with the waveforming technology. But I think, what was it, Andrew? 12 subs, or was it more than that in that room?
I think they had, I can't remember, 12. But they they played it in different sub configurations through the test. But
that's right. I think they did all 12 at one point. They did, I think 5, and then even 3. But long story short, what I appreciated was it wasn't that round with Mike Tyson. A lot of the bass I did hear around CEDIA was pretty controlled. It was there, but it wasn't like whatever they were working with, whether it was a Trinov or whatnot. They definitely dialed it in, so that was nice.
But my question is, do the subs have to be that big?
Well, okay, so here's the thing, right? First of all, it's dollars and cents. Those things are expensive. Second of all, when we spoke to Jeffrey at Ascendo, the biggest subs, they require, their housing has to be the size of a room, right? So that wipes it out for a vast majority of users. The other thing is, you have to be able to fit these in a living space. So, and then you have to have an opinion on infrasonic bass, which is another whole topic. We know from our room that you can produce amazing bass if everything's tight and organized. So, look, I think that comes down to personal taste. The technology is out there. I think Jeffrey really understands how to build a subwoofer, and I learned a lot in talking to him. But in sheer physical terms of like, where are you going to put those things in your room? How can you afford them? Those sorts of things. What I do see is that waveforming is going to become more and more affordable. Most of our customers, we get 4 subwoofers in a room to control the bass. I would say this. Don't go nuts on all these technologies, folks. If you only have 1, 2, or 3 seats in your home cinema, then good old traditional bass management with multiple subs will solve your problem for a few seats. As you get into bigger cinemas, I can definitely see the application for waveforming. And we now have all the documentation and calculators for waveforming if you want to do it in your room or if you want to upscale or modify.
So especially like 2 rows of seating?
Yeah. Multiple rows of seating, multiple widths of seating, then waveforming is an option. But you can do waveforming really with, you can probably do it with less, but I would say 5 subs. And considering most of our customers,
I think minimum was 5 subs.
You can actually go fewer, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see that. I have to pull out the calculator. I think you might even technically be able to do it with 3. But the point is, most of our customers go with 4. Adding 1 more sub is not a big deal, and then you're into waveforming. But of course, you need a Trinov, right? You need a Trinov to make it work. But for those of you, again, not playing in that budget area, look, just stick with the tried and true. Several subwoofers in a room will provide amazing even bass over multiple seats without spending a fortune. So, whilst we're all like magpies, we look at the new shiny things and the new expensive things and we all want it, it doesn't mean that it actually is going to solve the problem any better than, a traditional method well implemented. I mean, just to tag on there, even using small subs, I've accomplished some tremendous
outstanding bass. I'm thinking even back to 2-channel days and some setups where we just have, integrated left and right sub into a system, and that's all we've got. And you can get some fantastic results. But again, it comes down to system design, to matching, to understanding the room acoustics, to
measuring.
To measuring. Yes, like just throwing in 10 giant, subwoofers is doesn't mean you're getting bass. That's a lot to manage as well, right? So, I think it comes down to what the budget can allow, but in either or, you can get fantastic results, right?
Yeah.
Is having those giant, massive subs necessary? Are they essential? I would say no.
No, I'd agree with that. And I think it's interesting because, what you and I are going through is you and I are talking about processes and procedures. One of the things that's come up repeatedly for the last few weeks is having the tools to measure with. And,
yes.
That's something that we're constantly changing. I've just ordered some more equipment. Haven't told Enzo about it yet. I paid for it myself, actually. It's all right. But you need the tools to measure. If you can't measure, it's just guesswork, folks. And, Trinov can't do it without measuring the room, so just throwing subs in a room isn't the solution. You have to have the tools, you have to have the knowledge, and you have to have the ability to measure. And to be quite honest, you have to also have the customers who are willing to move subwoofers around, because if you can't move them around, you can't solve a problem.
That even goes back to, even like Andrew was saying, just the basics of having the one sub, and then, like Aaron said, just adding a second one for 2-channel, what difference that makes. And that's just the basic fundamentals of like old school sub management, which is still to this day what we use, and
very effective.
It is. It's very effective. And, we show people, even with REW, just by adding a third sub and a fourth sub, how everyone experiences the same film, So I definitely see the value of what they're trying to do, especially in the sense when you've got 2 or 3 or 4 rows, when you want everyone experiencing the same bass, or, with line source, one of the reasons we love it is everyone's experiencing the same sound. So it was just interesting to see. There's a lot of talk on YouTube and about big subs at the moment. I don't know if it's a fad or if it's the latest thing, but it was interesting to see.
I think big subs and supersonic frequencies, right? Like trying to get your subwoofer that's going to hit to some subsonic otherworldly frequency. But you have to understand, like, you also need content that will actually reproduce that. So that's
but is that content intended to be reproduced that way? That's the question.
Exactly.
I want to have a call with Andrew Cristofaro and talk about that. And, I think that's going to be quite revealing. Yes, there is infrasonic content on some tracks, but here's the argument. In video, above the 235 signal level, there is still some content, but it is not intended necessarily that you see that, right? And whilst there may be content below 20 hertz, it may not be intended that you hear it. In fact, you below, say 15 hertz, you don't, you just feel it. So it's going to be an interesting discussion to talk to people who actually create this content and go, well, what were you trying to do? Were you aiming for this? Did you want people to hear it? Do you tune it out? Do you listen to it? Do you have infrasonic subwoofers in your sound studio? I doubt it. So it is an interesting topic, and it's people trying to extract something that, maybe, again, arguably, might not be what the director intended. So anyway, that's another discussion which we could talk about.
So is it fair to say that CEDIA this year was a very mad VR heavy, not lots of new product, but full of enthusiastic developers and a bit bass heavy?
I mean, the interesting thing
is CEDIA in a roundup.
So here's I think it is. What blew me away is the number of people demonstrating sound in a hall full of other people demonstrating sound. And it's like, how on earth, here's our wonderful speakers, and you've got 5 other stands around all blasting out sound, and how anyone actually made an intelligent decision about buying a product based on the fact that you couldn't actually differentiate that speaker from the guy next door. And so every stand was fighting it out for levels. And so, it was a noisy show. And so, that's an interesting characteristic of a show. that kind of boggled me a little bit. It's like, well, you can look at them, you can touch them, you can try and listen to them, but at the end of the day, I don't think you can make those judgments. And even when we were in the Barco, Trinov, MadVR, Ascendo display, you can still hear the bass and the sound from the other displays coming through, and they built a fairly insulated container. But look, it was great to be there. I think it was good to be able to talk to a lot of people on the stands. There were new products there, don't get me wrong, before we get the haters, there were new products there. We just didn't get time to go to every stand and ask them about everything that was new. So for those of you who did have new products there, we apologize. We're certainly not trying to rain on your parade.
I think there was a new cinema remote that's been that was launched or at least discussed there.
Like a Harmony replacement.
Chatter online.
Yeah,
Harmony replacement. Yeah. Something.
Well, here's a good segue.
The name.
If you did see anything at CEDIA that was new, put it in the comments.
Yeah, and we'll look into it. We'll try and produce a video on it. But look, at the end of the day, whilst yes, we do build high-end cinemas, our focus is on getting great results for everybody. If you are interested in getting a room built and maximised, regardless of your budget, please reach out to us, www.hometheatreengineering.com, sales@hometheatreengineering.com. Aaron is our man on the ground in the USA and Canada, and thank you. And, we really are trying to be there. We have a few things coming up. Enzo, he might kill me for this. Enzo's putting together a package, or like a home theater package that will hopefully, will deliver for, is this correct or right?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, good. It's like Enzo's going, what? Yeah, so Enzo's been working really hard for the last 12 months with distributors and everything to put together a package that, at least in Australia, and we'll have a talk with Aaron about this, is going to give you an amazing home theatre at a really good budget price. So that's the first thing.
Yes, I've heard little whispers. It's very exciting, though.
Yeah. Well, for me, we have, sometimes you meet people and they love what we do and they love talking to us and they go, oh, but you guys might be too expensive for me, and that's a little bit,
it kind of breaks your heart.
Yeah, it does a little bit, and it's kind of like, well, we want to help everybody. And yes, there are, for a business that heavily philosophy is certification and reference, it is very hard sometimes to hit those with low budget cinemas, especially the under $20,000. But if we can give you something very close, that's more than enough. And I think that's what our aim was, trying to do this. So yeah, watch this space.
So we'll have a video coming out on that package and how you can get hold of it and what that's all about. The other thing is, Enzo and I've got a few plans. We're going to be going out and visiting some rooms in the next few months and talking to people about how they can improve their rooms. And we've got something that, if it comes together, it's going to be really interesting for all of you on Patreon. So I'll give you the tip now. Join Patreon. Go to our Patreon page. It'll be in the description below, because if all things go well, there are going to be some massive, massive advantages to being a Patreon member. And all I can say is equipment.
Oh.
There you go.
I should be a member. Sign me up.
I don't think you can. I don't know.
Is that insider trading?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Just get your wife to sign up.
I'm not sure about that one. All right, no worries, guys. Look, thank you very much, Aaron. Thank you. We know it's late at night for you on the other side of the planet. We'll send you some sunshine. Thank you for joining us.
Very happy to be here.
We'll do this more often, and obviously to my buddy Enzo.
Andrew.
Yeah. It's like. We'll talk to you again soon. If you like the format of this chat, we know it's gone on for a very long time. We're up to, I think, 55 minutes so far. Let us know in the comments below. Please give us a thumbs up. Please like and subscribe. But let us know. If you don't like this format, then we won't waste an hour talking. But if you're interested and you're getting stuff out of this, then please comment as well and give us your feedback, and then we'll organise this on a more regular basis.
On that note, take care.
Okay.
Comb your hair.
No worries.
If you have hair.
I'm going to press the button. Goodbye, everybody.